Hello scholars, welcome to lesson 25. We are starting on page 161 of our iReady books. Thus returns poetry, which I know we all love so much, but this time we're looking about it specifically in terms of structure. So here we have structure. And our simple definition for structure is going to be the way something is organized. Because that is the big difference between poetry and prose, is the way it is organized. As you know, poetry has lines and stanzas instead of long sentences in a paragraph. So here we have stanzas or groups of lines. And then here we have rhythm. We've talked about rhythm before. We did this when we were looking at Incident by County Cullen. Once riding in old Baltimore, heart filled, head filled with glee, I saw a Baltimorean keep looking straight at me. So you've heard about this before in our class, but today we're going to be looking at some older poems to kind of look at this rhythm. So it says here, read the poem below, lightly tapping on your desk to mirror the rhythm. The Pasture by Robert Frost. So here, a pasture is a field. And I'm going to skim for some other words we might need. The calf is a baby cow. Shan't is shall not or won't. It's a little bit older. Totters is it means that it's walking poorly, but because it's a child. So if you think about like a toddler totters. So there we go. Okay. So starting with The Pasture by Robert Frost. Again, we're thinking about the rhythm. I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away and wait to watch the water clear I may. I shan't be gone long. You come too. I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother. It's so young, it totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be gone long, you come too. So now we're going to be mark any rhyming lines with letters and underlining repeated phrases. So we're actually going to skip this for a second and come back to it. Underlining repeated phrases, this we're going to circle actually, so it's really obvious. I shan't be gone long, you come too. Right, that gets repeated, and we've already talked about how when something is repeated, it must be important. So we're going to figure that out in a second. So here are gist, and especially in poetry, a gist is a really good idea. Robert Frost is going to see a baby cow in a field. Sounds like Michael Pollan, y'all. But if you don't know the gist, the rest of it's not going to help either. So now we're going to look at this rhyme. And the way that rhyming works, or keeping track of rhyming, is every time you see a new word, it gets a new letter. So here, spring does not match with anything. Away and may match. Young and tongue match. So we're going to kind of look at those. So it says down here, here's our explanation. The poem's sing-song rhythm contributes to its carefree tone, as do the rhymes at the ends of the second and third lines in each stanza. So away and may and young and tongue. And the speaker's desire to share these simple pleasures of going to see a baby cow with someone is captured by the repeated phrase, I shan't be gone long, you come too. Come look at this baby cow with me. All of these elements contribute to the poem's light-hearted style. While reading poetry, take note of how poets use structural elements to build a poem in different ways. Reading a poem out loud a few times can help you identify its rhythm, understand its overall style, and gain a better understanding of its meaning. So I'm going to read it one more time now that we kind of understand what's going on, and see if you agree that there's a carefree tone and a lighthearted style. The Pasture by Robert Frost. I'm going out to clean the pasture spring. I'll only stop to rake the leaves away and wait to watch the water clear I may. I shan't be gone long, you come too. I'm going out to fetch the little calf that's standing by the mother. It's so young, it totters when she licks it with her tongue. I shan't be gone long, you come too. So now we're going to 162. The rest of these poems are extremely famous. In fact, the next one you already read with Hoffman because it's so famous that it was one of the ones I suggested to him. So here we have hope is the thing with feathers. We know that hope is a concept, so there's not really a synonym that we can get there. But a thing with feathers, well, obviously the thing with feathers are birds, right? So again, I'm going to skim and see if there's any words that we might not know. The gale is a wind. Wind. Abash is hurt. And that's about all of them. A perch is when a little bird grabs. You guys know that. Hope is the thing with feathers. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches in the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest land and on the strangest sea, yet never in extremity it asked a crumb of me. So here we have to figure out our gist, right? And this one's a little bit different because we're talking about an idea here. We're not talking about going to see a baby cow. We're talking about the concept of hope, okay? So here, the gist is that hope is like a bird because, and here's where our figurative language comes in, right? Hope is like a bird because it can withstand a storm, which is in the second stanza right here. It's always happy, which is up here. It's singing a tune, and it never stops. And then down here, it never asked for something of me. So hope is like a bird because it can withstand a storm. It's always happy, and it doesn't require much. Okay. So again, one more time. Hope is like a bird because it can withstand a storm. It's always happy, and it doesn't require much. So now that we know what this means, we have to start thinking about the structure again, or how it's built. So again, we have 3 stanzas, right? And we kind of lost them a little bit, so I'm just going to break them up again. This is a challenging task. It even warns you. I'm so glad you're here on the video to get some help. As with most challenging tasks, it helps to break up into small pieces. So does it have stanzas? Yes, it has 3 stanzas. Each has its own main idea. And here we kind of said what they were. There's a storm, it's always happy, and it doesn't require much. So we have the 3 ideas in our gist. Does it have figurative language? Yes. It's comparing hope to a bird that constantly sings. And then there's rhymes at the end. Okay, so we have storm, we have warm, we have sea, we have me, and we have soul, kind of rhymes with all. Then we also have words and heard and bird. So those 3 all go together as well. Does the poem have rhyme? It doesn't use exact rhymes, but instead uses words as similar sounds that create a pleasing feeling, just as the song of the bird would. The first stanza follows an A-B-C-B rhyme scheme, but words in line 3 loosely rhyme with heard and bird in stanza 2. So this, again, is talking about a little fancier rhyming thing that you don't really need to know until 9th or 10th grade. I will link a video below for a separate YouTube video that explains that if you're interested, but that's not normally something that you need in 8th grade. So here it says, describe how the structural elements, so that's these 3 things, hope is the thing with feathers, impact or influence its meaning and style. Okay. So here, this is getting, again, right, it says it's a challenging task, but I am going to write it down because later on you have, some writing tasks, so I want to make sure you guys have the right idea. So I'm going to write it out and then say it to you. Here's our explanation of how the structural elements impact the meaning and style. So I'm going to read the whole thing and then go by sentence so you can copy it down. By organizing the poem into 3 stanzas, the poet builds on the definition of hope. The poet uses a bird metaphor to compare hope to a singing bird, which also explains how it can stay strong in a storm. So again, so you guys can copy. By organizing the poem into 3 stanzas, the poet builds on the definition of hope. The poet uses a bird metaphor to compare hope to a singing bird, which also explains how it can stay strong in a storm. And here, this "it" is referring to hope staying strong in a storm, but it's also making a second metaphor of a storm. This doesn't necessarily have to do with weather. This could deal with other anxieties or stresses or, pandemics in your life. It could be anything. The storm is also a metaphor. So here it says, look at the chart on the next page, and now we have to do some comparisons. So again, you guys have already read Dream Deferred. We're still going to go over it, but we can fill in here what it is. Now, hope is a thing with feathers. The structure here is pretty simple. It's 3 similar stanzas. All the stanzas are 4 lines. There's 3 of them. There's lots of rhyming. There's nothing really fancy or different about any of those stanzas. They're all pretty much the same. And the meaning, or our theme here, is a positive message about hope. Now let's see what Dream Deferred's about. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore, and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? Okay, so here, quick definitions, right? Deferred means postponed or put away for later. Fester is when like a bruise or something grows and hurts. And then a sore here is a gooey wound or injury. Does it stink like rotten meat, syrupy sweet, sags to droop or fall like a heavy load? So one more time. What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up like a raisin in the sun, or fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust and sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode? And by the way, this poem is actually called Harlem. I don't know why they have the wrong title there. First, we have to do our gist. Conveniently, there's a big spot over here. So our gist is a dream that is put away for later, can disappear, torture you, or inspire you. And those are rephrasings of what's happening over here. Dry up is disappearing. Festering is torturing you. And exploding might be inspiration. Okay. So here again, a dream that is put away for later can disappear, torture you, or inspire you. So here for a dream deferred, our structure, this is not 3 similar stanzas. There's one stanza here, one here, one here, and one here. So it's different stanzas. So we're going to call that irregular. It has irregular stanzas, and there is no set rhythm. It doesn't have a beat. Once riding in old Baltimore, heart filled, head filled with glee. We don't have that here. The meaning here, again, going back to our gist, it's kind of angry. It's an angry message about the loss of hope. or dreams. Okay, this one's definitely kind of angry. Look at all of these negative word choices. We have rotten meat, we have sore, drying up. Running in this case is not you running, it's pus from that gooey wound running. Disgusting. Sagging, being heavy, exploding. All these things are negative, right? So we definitely get a negative tone here. And if we want to be more specific, it's a bit angry. So here, looking at the bottom again, how does each poem's structure contribute to its meaning? So if we're thinking about hope, right, we have 3 very similar paragraphs. This is overall very positive. Over here, we have a little bit of differentiation, very different stanzas, and this is very negative. So I want you guys to try this one on your own. Again, similar stanzas gives us a positive message. Irregular stanzas and no set rhythm gives us an angry message. Pause the video, try that out, just write a sentence or two, and then come back for the answer. All right, welcome back. If I was going to answer this question, I would say something like, hope is the thing with feathers, has 3 similar stanzas, which gives us a positive message about hope because it's predictable. And then for Harlem, or Dream Deferred, the irregular stanzas make us feel uncomfortable. The no set rhythm makes it unpredictable. Just like a dream that's postponed can become unpredictable because you don't know what's going to happen to it, and that makes us angry. Here we go. Last part. These are also extremely famous poems. We're on 164. And this is one where we're going to need that hint. This is by Edgar Allan Poe, who's most known for writing spooky stories. In elementary school, you might have read some of his stuff around Halloween. But here, this gives us a really good hint. So Annabel Lee is an elegy, which is a poem that mourns the loss of something or someone. And in this case, loss means they died. So actually, in Edgar Allan Poe's time, there was also a disease gripping the world, and that was tuberculosis, which is also a lung disease. So in his lifetime, he lost basically all of the important women to him, including his mother, sisters, and wives, to tuberculosis. So he was in kind of a sad period in his life when he was doing these writings. So this elegy is about a woman the poet loved when he was young. I will keep in mind the theme of love and loss when I compare the poems. So here they also give us a hint that we're circling repeated words and phrases. And I know normally I kind of let you guys on your own for this, but because they are difficult, I will be continuing to annotate. So this video might be a little bit longer, but of course you're welcome to turn it off. It was many and many a year ago in a kingdom by the sea that a maiden there lived whom you may know by the name of Annabel Lee. And this maiden she lived with no other thought than to love and be loved by me. She had no other thought. I'm going to say she was obsessed. I was a child and she was a child in this kingdom by the sea, but we loved with a love that was more than love, I and my Annabel Lee, with a love that the winged seraphs of heaven coveted her and me. So again, more of that loviness. And here, he doesn't mean actual children. He just means that they were young. Maybe they were teenagers or, childhood crushes. But here it's giving us a hint there's something that's repeated, and we already found one of them. In a kingdom by the sea, in this kingdom by the sea. And this was the reason that long ago, in this kingdom by the sea, a wind blew out of a cloud, chilling my beautiful Annabel Lee, so that her high-born kinsman came and bore her away from me, to shut her up in a sepulchre in this kingdom by the sea. This part for me reminds me a little bit of Rapunzel or Tangled, where she's been kept away elsewhere. But then we get this hint. The angels not half so happy in heaven when envying her and me. Yes, that was the reason, as all men know, in this kingdom by the sea, that the wind came out of the cloud by night, chilling and killing my Annabel Lee. But our love it was stronger by far than the love of those who were older than we, of many far wiser than we. And neither the angels in heaven above, nor the demons down under the sea, can ever dissever my soul from the soul of this beautiful Annabel Lee. I accidentally read 2 stanzas there. But over here, the angels took her out of jealousy. All right, we have this kingdom by the sea thing again. And then here, love was stronger again. And here we go. We have angels versus demons. For the moon never beams without bringing me dreams of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And the stars never rise, but I feel bright the eyes of the beautiful Annabel Lee. And so all the night tide I lie down by the side of my darling, my life and my bride, in her sepulchre there by the sea, in her tomb by the sounding sea. So again here we have another repeated line. Okay. And our gist for this one, it's very similar to this. This is our big hint here, right? He loved a woman who died of, and if you look closely over here, a wind blew out of a cloud. Remember how I said tuberculosis was a lung disease? There it is. He loved a woman who died of a windy illness. Now, because Ms. Kingsbury's a nerd, I know that that's tuberculosis, but you might not. Okay. Now we're going down here to remember. This one is also going to be about love and loss because we're comparing them, so they're going to have a similar idea here. Remember me when I am gone away, gone far into the silent land, when you can no more hold me by the hand, nor I half turn to go, yet turning stay. Remember me when no more day by day you tell me of our future that you planned. Only remember me, you understand. It will be late to counsel then or pray. Yet if you should forget me for a while, and afterwards remember, do not grieve. For if the darkness and corruption leave a vestige of your thoughts that I once had, better by far you should forget and smile, than you should remember and be sad. So here, if we're thinking about love and loss, we want to take some of those ideas over here. So here we have gone away, holding me by the hand, do not grieve, it will be too late to pray, right? You should forget and smile, then you should remember and be sad. So here, our gist, right? This one you might be able to figure out on your own. I suggest pausing and see if you can figure out what is the advice that this person is giving. So in this one I have that the gist is that she wants you to think of her in happy times instead of remembering her and getting sad. She wants you to be happy too, even though she's gone. So of course, there are questions that go along with this. There's only 2, and I do want you to do them. We are asking you to do this short response because later on there is an essay that we are skipping. So you are welcome for giving you a short response instead of an essay. Okay? So here, which statement best describes how the structure of Annabel Lee contributes to its meaning? Which of these best compares the use of repetition in Annabel Lee and remember? Please be careful and make sure you're answering the questions about the right text. I had a couple people who did the quiz about the wrong text. So we still need to be annotating and being very careful about that. So even though today is Wednesday and this work is technically due today, the Google form is going to be due tomorrow because you are going to have more work in that same Google form about A Nation's Strength by Ralph Waldo Emerson. I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman. And then we're doing these, but not that. Okay? See you next time. Bye.